Good morning, everybody. I want to talk to you a little bit today about leadership. We are this year, at our church council meetings talking about a particular kind of leadership. We're talking about being hospitable as leaders, especially to one another. So, hospitable leadership is the theme to the devotions and the thoughts that I'm sharing. Um, at the council meeting. And I want to share with you what I'm going to be sharing with them this coming week at their council meeting, at least a version of it. And I want to start, I guess I should start because I've defined this for them, but I haven't for you. I want to start by defining hospitality. We're talking about a pleasant or favorable place for living, right? And so, not inviting our leaders to live at our church building, but we are trying to establish an environment in which um, leadership is a pleasant thing and not a form of torture. And I think that it probably mostly is for most of our leaders, but I have noticed that there's a certain amount of fear to stepping up into a leadership position, and some of that's justified. Some of it's just misunderstandings, and I think if we deal with the misunderstandings, those particular things that happen that make leadership something that people tend to avoid, um, hopefully, hopefully those can be addressed as well. So that's why I'm talking about it at council, and that's why I'm sharing it with you, especially with the members of Concordia. You might be someone who's kind of been a little bit afraid to step into one of those positions. So I want you to know what we're talking about. So what I want to do first of all is to read to you the text that I'm going to share with them. I think you'll recognize it. It's from Matthew chapter 20, verses 25 through I'm going to read verses 20 through 28. Okay, just read the whole story. Um, so it's Matthew writes, Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee came up to him, Jesus, with her sons, and kneeling before him, she asked him for something. And he said to her, What do you want? She said to him, Say that these two sons of mine are to sit one at your right hand and one at your left in your kingdom. Jesus answered, You do not know what you are asking. Are you able to drink the cup that I am to drink? They said to him, We are able. He said to them, You will drink my cup. But to sit at my right hand and at my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it has been prepared by my Father. And when the 10 heard it, they were indignant at the two brothers. But Jesus called them to him and said, You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. It shall not be so among you, but whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be your slave, even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. Right. So this is the passage that I'm going to be sharing with them, and it's for this purpose, so that we can talk about what hospitable leadership looks like. And hospitable leadership is something that is demonstrated when the person who has been given authority recognizes, first of all, what I just said, that authority is a gift, right? And that the gift of power, because that's what authority is, the gift of power is given for a particular purpose: to love our neighbor, to serve our neighbor, right? So hospitable leadership is loving service toward the neighbor, not the lording over that Jesus says. That's what the world does. That's not what you're going to do, right? So that means that we are not leading at least we're not leading in a godly way, when we are fighting with one another for power. Exercising authority for us as Christians is, according to Jesus, giving your life. It's drinking the cup of Christ. It's bearing the cross of Christ. Christian leadership when we're given authority, it's so that we can sacrifice for the sake of our neighbor, right? We're given so that we can give, right? So sacrifice is key to hospitable leadership. Now, I want to make sure we understand this. This is not the same thing. Don't translate that in your head as handing over your authority or abdicating your responsibility to the person that you're called to serve. That's not the point here, and that's not Christian leadership. This should not be misunderstood as you becoming a servant to your neighbor, doing what they desire, doing what they command. It's not God gives you authority and you just pass it right on. Oh, you want it? Here you go. You can have it. You can have the authority that God gave to me. That's not what this is. I think the easiest way to explain it and hope to understand it is this. You are providing service to your neighbor, but you are not their servant. You are God's servant, right? God is the one who gave you the authority. God is the one who gave you the responsibility to provide service for your neighbor. So who's the master? Not the neighbor, but God, right? So hospitable leadership is being obedient to your Father in heaven by serving your neighbor according to the Father's will, not necessarily according to your neighbor's will, right? You get that distinction? So when we talk about exercising authority and making sacrifices, loving service towards your neighbor, we're not talking about authority from God to you and then just passing it right off to your neighbor, doing whatever they say, doing whatever they want. That's not the point here. Right? So I have an example from a book that my son loaned me. It's 2 books, a series written by George MacDonald, and it takes place in Scotland. So there's a marquee. In other words, there's a regional, I guess, a regional leader or king, wealthy, powerful. He's responsibility for all the little villages that are all in his region, right? And at one point at the very end of the first book, the Marquis has had an accident, and the Marquis is going to die. And his daughter, his lone daughter, is not there, but his servant is there. And he says to the servant, and there's a whole lot more to the story, you'd have to read it, but he says to the servant, he charges him, he gives him an authority to protect his daughter, who's still a very young lady and easily influenced by some people that would not be good for her, or as far as that goes, for the responsibility that she has. And he's concerned about that. And he trusts this servant who has shown great wisdom. And so the Marquis says to the servant, Malcolm, that he wants him, he's charging him, he's giving him the authority to watch out for his daughter, to protect his daughter. Right? So whose servant is he? Well, this becomes a real issue in the second book when he takes this oath, this responsibility given to him very, very seriously, and the daughter doesn't know what to do with it. She could not understand why Malcolm wouldn't just do whatever she wanted him to do. How can this guy who's in charge of my horse think that he can speak to me the way that he speaks to me, or act so freely in regard to my life when I'm the one who's in charge? She really, really struggles with this. And Malcolm does as well. He is her servant in one sense, but first and foremost, he's determined to live under the last command that his master gave, which means that he has to guide her. And so it's a really interesting story where he tries to manage this service to her, even though really his servant is the Marquis. And the thing that's guiding him really is the promise that he made to that Marquis. It's a really interesting story, and I think it's a really great example of the sort of hospitable leadership that we're talking about today. Matthew 20:25-28 really addresses how to balance this out. Our master is not our neighbor. Yes, we provide service to them, but our master is our Father, and it is his will that we're seeking to do for the sake of our neighbor. So we do not abdicate the authority that was given to us by handing it to our neighbor and saying, whatever you want, that's what I'm going to do. No, we say, whatever you want, that's what I'm going to do for them. That makes sense? All right. So we don't want to lead. We don't want to pretend like we're leading by fighting for power. We're being terrible leaders if all we're trying to do is prove that we've been given some authority. We are ready to make sacrifices. It's the whole point of why God has given to us so that we can share. But we don't abdicate our responsibilities. We don't pass it off. We follow the Father's command for the sake of our neighbor. Let me know what you think. Appreciate it's especially with this one because, like I said, this is a theme we're doing all year long. This is something we're talking about as leaders here at Concordia. So would love to get your input, and I'll, as appropriate, pass it along. All right. God bless you all. God bless your week. Hope to see many of you this Sunday.